Indian wrestlers built the most barrel-chested upper bodies in pre-modern history without ever lying on a bench. Soviet-era gymnasts pressed their entire body weight on their hands, parallel to the floor, without touching a barbell. The training traditions that produced these physiques, Pelwani in the akhara, gymnastics on the rings and floor, hand balancing in the circus, still exist, still produce extraordinary pressing strength, and still don't depend on the bench press. 3 push-up variations, drawn directly from those traditions, build a thicker, stronger, more functional chest than the bench press ever will. Done properly, with progression, they outperform the most worshipped lift in fitness, and they do it in any room with a floor. The bench press has been treated as the gold standard of upper body strength for 50 years. It isn't. It's one movement, performed in one plane, on a padded support, with no demand on the rest of the body. The chest does not grow from being stimulated the same way over and over. It grows from being demanded across different loading patterns. The bench press, by its very design, eliminates most of those patterns. The range of motion is restricted by the bar hitting the chest. The core does nothing because the spine is supported. There is no unilateral loading, no leverage challenge, no demand on the stabilizing musculature that surrounds and shapes the chest. The 3 exercises that follow attack the bench press at 3 specific points where it fails. Each one loads the chest in a way the bench press physically cannot. In the akhara, the wrestling pit of the Indian Pelwani tradition, dans are performed by the 100. Some wrestlers do 500 a day. Others do over 1,000. These are not the push-ups most people learn in school gym class. The dand, or Hindu push-up, is a deep, sweeping movement that drives the body forward through a long arc, drops the chest below the level of the hands, and presses up through a path no barbell can replicate. That is the first failure of the bench press, range of motion. The barbell stops when it hits the chest. The Hindu push-up keeps loading the pectoral muscle through a sweep the bench press physically cannot reach. It also loads the serratus anterior, the muscle that sits beneath the chest and gives it the deep, thick base, and the anterior deltoid through positions a bench press never demands. The form is precise and most people get it wrong. Start in a downward dog position, feet flat, hips high, hands flat on the ground, arms straight. Dive forward, dropping the chest toward the ground and sweeping up into an upward dog position. The hips drop, the chest rises, the gaze lifts. Then push back through the same arc to the start. One continuous motion, no pause, no hitching. The benchmark, 30 clean reps in a row, full sweep, full form. A bencher with a 140 kilo bench press will gas out before 30 proper Hindu push-ups. The chest, the shoulders, and the serratus will all be on fire. That is the dand, the exercise that built the upper bodies of men who wrestled for a living. The second exercise is the one-arm push-up. To understand why it builds the chest in a way the bench press cannot, look at the men of the old-time strength tradition. Bert Aserati, a British professional wrestler and strongman in the 1930s, weighed 113 kilos and could perform clean one-arm push-ups at that body weight. Eugen Sandow, the father of modern physical culture, used one-arm pressing as a foundational test of strength a century before the bench press existed in its modern form. The one-arm push-up has been the gold standard of pressing strength in every culture that valued it, and it has never required a bench. The argument is simple. Every kilogram of body weight loads a single pectoral muscle. There is no split across 2 sides. There is no padded bench taking the weight of the torso. The entire mass of the body is pressed by one arm, one shoulder, one pec, while the core, the obliques, and the entire stabilizing chain fight to keep the body from rotating. No bench press rep, even at heavy weights, loads a single pectoral that hard relative to body weight. The bench press allows the body to rest. The one-arm push-up demands every muscle from the toes to the working hand. This is not a beginner exercise. Watching a clean one-arm push-up performed for the first time, most people conclude it is beyond them. It is not. The destination looks impossible because it is approached as a single feat instead of the end point of a built progression. The progression is the answer. The path to a clean one-arm push-up runs through 2 named progressions. The first is the archer push-up, both hands on the ground, wider than shoulder width. Lower the body toward one hand, keeping the opposite arm straight. The straight arm acts as a stabilizer with minimal load. The bent arm does the work. 15 clean reps per side before moving on. The second is the negative one-arm push-up. From the top of a one-arm push-up position, lower the body as slowly as possible to the ground. 5 to 7 seconds on the way down. Push back up using both hands. 5 clean negatives per side, 3 times a week, builds the strength to perform a full one-arm push-up in 12 to 18 weeks for a dedicated trainee. The benchmark, 5 clean one-arm push-ups per side, body straight, chest touching the ground, no twisting at the hips. A man who can do 5 clean one-arm push-ups per side has pressing strength most lifters will never develop, no matter how long they spend on the bench. Getting there is the work. The No Gym Warrior program, 12 weeks of structured progression, built on the same principles the historical traditions used. 4 workouts a week, no gym required. Link in the description. The third exercise is the planche push-up. A full planche push-up is performed with the body horizontal to the ground, parallel to the floor, supported only by the hands, with the feet completely off the ground. It is the most demanding pressing movement in the bodyweight tradition, and it builds chest strength that almost no bench press training will ever match. The reason is leverage. When the body is held horizontal to the ground, the entire mass of the body is suspended in front of the hands. Every degree of forward lean increases the load on the chest, the anterior deltoids, and the serratus dramatically. The bench press has no equivalent. There is no version of a bench press in which the body is suspended off the ground by leverage alone. The planche push-up loads the anterior chain at an angle the bench press cannot create, and the strength carryover is freakish. The gymnasts and hand balancers who train this movement develop pressing power that translates to feats most lifters cannot match at any body weight. Now, the honest part. A full planche push-up looks impossible from the outside. It is not impossible. It is a multi-year goal. Years, not months. And the men who perform it have spent thousands of hours in progression. The progression itself is the training. The journey to the planche push-up is what builds the chest, long before the full movement is ever performed. This is not an exercise to attempt in week 1. Attempting it in week 1 will produce nothing but frustration and a torn shoulder. The realistic week 1 entry is the pseudo planche push-up. Standard push-up position, but the hands are placed at the level of the hips rather than the chest, and the body is leaned forward over the wrists. The further forward the lean, the closer the loading approaches a true planche. 15 clean reps with a deep forward lean before progressing. The next step is the tuck planche push-up. From a planche hold with the knees pulled tightly into the chest and the feet off the ground, lower the body and press back up. This is the first true taste of horizontal body loading. 5 reps before progressing. Then the straddle planche push-up with the legs spread wide to reduce the lever arm. Then the full planche. Each stage is genuinely harder than it looks. The key point, even the pseudo planche push-up, performed properly with a deep forward lean, loads the chest harder than most bench press sets ever will. The progression itself is the training. A trainee who works through these progressions for a year will have built a chest that no equivalent year of bench pressing produces. 3 exercises. 3 angles of attack the bench press cannot answer. The Hindu push-up loads the chest through a range of motion the barbell cannot reach. The one-arm push-up loads a single pectoral with the full mass of the body, demanding more of the chest and the stabilizing chain than any bench press rep ever could. The planche push-up loads the anterior chain through pure leverage, in a position the bench press has no equivalent for. The bench press is not useless. It has been promoted far beyond what it can deliver. The men who built the most impressive pressing physiques in recorded history did it on the floor, with their body weight and with progression that demanded more of them than any barbell ever could. The bar is not the path, the floor is.